Okay. Well, I always like to start on time and hopefully end on time. So I wanted to welcome you all to our Association of Educational Service Districts Learning Management System 101 or LMS 101 for Seesaw. Once again, I'm Andrew Hickman. I'm Regional Administrator of Educational Technology and Remote Learning from Capital Region ESD. Today with me, I have Steve as my co-host. Steve, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Steve Schreiner. I'm the Technology and Learning Coordinator at ESD 101 in Spokane.
Thank you, Steve. And once again, we just want to do a brief announcement for a couple things just to clarify. First things first, what are your options within this series? Your options are at the bottom of your screen. You'll notice that you have audio settings where you can change your volume of your speakers. You have chat, which is where we will be posting links. You do not have a feature to add chat yourself. It's just for link sharing. You have the option to raise hand, but being very honest, we're not monitoring the raise hand. So that means you should be using the Q&A, which the Q&A button is where you can ask questions to your panelists, where we have a number of panelists with us today from other ESDs who also know this information and can answer your questions. That being said, your question should be directed at content. This is really to ask questions to make sure that we cover it. And when we go over what today's session is about, your question should be directed at that because that's what we're going to be able to cover today. So use the Q&A feature to ask questions. Questions that we always seem to get. Number one, will I get clock hours for attending this and how do I sign in? Don't worry about it. If you've logged into this course, it already has registered your name and email. It asks you when you sign in for your name and email. We will associate that with your clock hours, so you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sit back, relax, and demonstrate and watch what we can do within Seesaw. So, once again, don't need any questions about clock hours, simply because it's already taken care of. The second question that we get a lot is, why is my chat feature disabled? Chat feature is disabled basically so we can just use it to share links and have the Q&A to answer questions. You'll notice that your questions may not appear until they're answered. We will not be answering questions that are not pertaining to the content of Seesaw for this course, so you may not see your question get answered. Some of the questions will be marked live answering. If it's marked live answering, that means they're going to let us know and we will unmute and ask the question and try to answer it live with you. Okay, now with that, we're going to also recommend that we do have closed captioning available. And thank you for being here for our closed captioning. We also have 2 ASL interpreters available, and they'll be switching back and forth every 15 minutes or so. So you'll notice them switch back and forth, and we have spotlighted their video. And with that, we're going to get into Seesaw and begin. Okay, so you're here today for Seesaw Part 2. Once again, I'm Andrew Hickman. So I'm going to lead you and guide you through this work and hopefully be able to answer some of the questions that you're having. First off, we want to acknowledge once again that we are on the tribal nations of Washington State land. We need to recognize as Indigenous people and be thankful for the land that we use and be graceful with it. So just take a moment to recognize this. We want to thank and recognize those that have helped participating in putting this together, as well as share contact links for you. So you'll notice each ESD is listed. ESD 101, ESD 105, 112, 113, 114, 121, 123, 171, and 189. Those ESDs represent everywhere across the state of Washington, and we're here to support you. The people shown here are who you can contact for that support. So if you need anything, please ask them. Today with me, helping, once again, we have Steve. We also have Darcy available, Catherine, Christina, Amber, as well as Amy available that will be helping with the questions and answers. All of us here are able to support you, and you'll see us in a variety of times throughout the series. The outline for today. Yesterday, we went through really on how to access and navigate Seesaw, which meant how to sign in, how to create a class from scratch, how to add students into your course, how to add families into your course. We also talked about the generic layout. Now today, which is part 2, we will support participants in selecting and managing materials and resources, which means we're going to dive in how to add things to your journal. We're also going to look at how to add resources and activities for students to participate in. We will use the student view available within Seesaw to also show what students see in their journal. Tomorrow, we will focus on grading, assessment, communication. So if you're looking for how you grade in Seesaw or ways to use their skill feature, that will be mainly tomorrow. So let's direct those questions to them. And anything we don't get to today, for example, we may not get to extra resources, we will get to tomorrow. Our agenda follows. We're going to do welcome and introductions. We're going to organize the LMS. We're going to look at different organization structures, which we did start yesterday, but we're going to continue today. Really focus heavily on content materials and try to get to resources that work with it. Once again, if we don't get to resources, we will push that to part 3. Now, before we begin, we would like to gather some information using a feature you may have available if your district uses Zoom as their synchronous video, which means they use this platform with students. It's called Zoom Poll. I always recommend setting up a Zoom poll before your Zoom session so it's ready to go, which is what we did for you. So I'm about to launch a poll, and in this poll, you're going to be able to answer, what was the exploration like last night with accessing, creating, and inviting others? Because we invited you last night to create a course, create a class, see if you can invite somebody to it, even a sample student, and how you accessed it. So you need to reply there. And then, what are you most excited to learn today? So pick one of the things you're excited to learn today. So I'm going to launch the poll. Please just click one of the responses on your screen, and let's see where you're at. So the poll has been launched. Please click your result that best fits your needs. So we are in 30 seconds, and this is one of my things I like about this poll. We're 30 seconds in. We've already had 165 people out of 185 reply. Instant poll within Zoom. So looks like last night, a little over half were able to get in and dabble a little and start understanding. We have a few of us, we have about 10 people who feel their rock star status, which means they can help and assist their colleagues. Highly recommend working together and help assist. Today, it appears that we're looking to really effectively use Seesaw as well as begin planning. Now, I'm going to end this poll in about 10 seconds. We have received 96% of our vote, and I want to show what sharing results looks like. Okay, so I'm ending the poll. I'm going to share the results with you so you can see your results. Looks like most of us got in and dabbled a little bit, which is great for me, and hopefully it helped add some questions that we can answer today. Now, we had exactly the same amount of responses for effectively use the LMS and begin planning. That's the first time that's happened today. So we'll definitely focus on effectively using Seesaw as well as beginning the planning model. And with that, we want to remind you that we always need to be thinking about our framing as we're adding content and materials for students. Look to your state criterion as well as universal design for learning. Think about social emotional learning and culturally responsive teaching. Like we talked about yesterday, these need to be at the forefront of our mind as we're picking activities, using different things for the journals, and working with students. Have those in our mind. Okay, we're about to dive into Seesaw. Steve, are there any questions to start with before we dive into the model?
No, not yet.
Perfect. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so during this segment, we're really going to talk about organizational structures, try the different layout options. We're also going to dive into content materials, which is adding materials and resources, I do this in class journal as well as in their folders. Talk about discussion opportunities, which you do through the inbox, as well as activities. And we will focus heavily on activities today. And with that, we're going to go into Seesaw. So, like we said yesterday, you can go to Seesaw by web.seesaw.me. It will take you to this main page. You could also just Google Seesaw. And if you're needing additional help with one-on-one support on how to do any of these steps, just to let you know, because I forgot to say this a little bit earlier, we do recommend that you take the on-demand course, which walks you through step by step. So if you could post the link in the chat to the on-demand, that would be great. The on-demand course is worth an additional 6 clock hours, and it will help you support your learning with step-by-step instructions. So that's always available to you as well. Thank you. So to log in, you're going to click Login. Once again, you're going to select your role. For me at this point, I'm still doing the teacher role because that's the role I want to be to set up my class. I'm going to click I am a teacher. And for me, once again, I'm signing in with my Google account. There we go. There's my sign in with my Google account. This takes me back to the class that I started yesterday. We had a question yesterday about why does it always take me back to my colleague's class? Well, Seesaw takes you back to the class that you had last open. So if I went to my 8 classes I have over here and I had this office hours class open, when I had logged back in, it would have taken me back to my login of that class. So since I had our session open yesterday, that's what it takes me back to. Now, we're going to start here. And when I mean start here, we're really going to start looking at our class journal. That's where I want to start, which is adding resources, adding materials for students. And class journal is a way for you to share out to them. So how do you do this? Well, right now I have class journal highlighted. You'll notice I don't have anything posted here yet. So I'm going to spend some time and add tools in class journal, or add resources, or add content. And so I'm going to go over here on the left. I'm going to push the plus add, this big button here. When I push add, it gives me 3 options. 1, I can post students' work, which shows how students demonstrate their learning. I can assign an activity, or I can send an announcement. So basically the 3 things we're going to talk about today, or we're going to focus on. So I'm going to post work first. I wanted to show what options you have when you click post work and then demonstrate each of the tools, which will take a little bit of time. So I post work and it gives me the following features. This is the exact same window that students see. And I mean the exact same window that students see. So when I post work, I have the following options. As a teacher, I can post work to the classroom journal as a photo. I can add a drawing. I can make a video. I can share files that I upload. Notice it says Google Drive here. I can directly associate my Google Drive. I can send a note, and I can share a link, which will take them to a website. So I'm going to start simply with photo. And since you already see me, I'm okay with that. So if I click photo, it asks you the first time if you'll allow a camera. If you click block, you can always change this by clicking the lock if you're in the Chrome browser. So I'll push allow. But once again, I'll demonstrate. I click the lock and I can choose my features that are allowed within my Chrome browser. This is for Chrome. Firefox, Edge, and others have the same option with the lock. So you'll see my camera, which means you see my office. And yes, it's messy, and yes, I collect pops. I have a whole bunch of them behind me. Okay, so I could take a photo, which I'm going to do. There we go. I took a photo. In this photo, I now have the following options, and you'll get used to these options. Number 1, I can add another photo on top of it. I can layer photos. Notice I now have 2 photos of me. and I can add those side by side. So think about students. You could do this with, for example, a book page. You could do this with a drawing. You can do a number of things. It's a really easy way to layer photos on top of each other. Down below, if you've ever taken anything, you'll always notice dots are options. So if I click the dots, look at all these options I have and all these features. I could use this photo as a button, which means I could link to a website. So if they click this button, I could directly take them to google.com. So this photo is now a link. You can use it as a button. I could have added or made a duplicate. I could lock it so it can't be moved, or I could delete it. I'm okay with that photo, so I'm going to leave it. I could also use these features down below, which we have a pencil, we have a color pencil, we have a Sharpie, and we have a magic pen, as well as an eraser. So let's just look at what these do. Pencil, you choose your colors on the side. I like purple, and I can draw a star. There we go. I have the colored pencil, which is a little bit thicker, so I'm going to choose blue and write something if I'd like. There we go. I can choose a Sharpie. I'll choose, or highlighter technically. I can do red and it highlights. I can do the magic. And we have, look at that, giant glowing magic. Okay, so those are the features on the bottom. If you mess up, you can use the eraser and notice it erases. Now, your students have the same ability. So think about the functions they can do on papers, if you upload a document, on anything. They have the same function on anything you share with them in their journal. Okay? The other features over here on the left, you can add text. So I could even tell them, please click and go to the following link. I could shrink this. There we go. Please click and go to the following link. And they will know that goes to that. I could do an audio message. Yes, allow your microphone. Notice the allow button came back on. So you can start recording. Hi class, I want you to click the following link. And once you use the link, I want you to search your hometown and type in, what is the best thing about? Okay. So I added an audio. It now will play on my screen for students to listen. So I now have a play button. I have a link. I have a picture. I've made it cute. And then we have other features. You can change the background. So if I wanted to shrink my picture, I could change it. I could have them go to a link, or I can even add shapes. So I could have done a call out. So a lot of features. Down below on the bottom, you can add voice caption. Voice caption available for them in here. Okay, I know this looks like a mess. My hope is that you would take time and organize and think specifically what your students need as you're planning on what you will post using this picture. But this is to show the features at this point. The next thing you need to see, so think about a journal. This is a class journal. Well, what do journals have? Journals have additional pages. So I just made a page. My next page can be added here if I wanted to do a secondary page. Okay, so now I have 2 pages that I can post to their journals. Once again, it looks like a blank page. I can add an image. I could add a background. I can do whatever I want to format this. I can say use the following and write about you. I can make an about you page for them where they will then be able to edit this. This is my template, so I can Look at that, I just drag, it makes it long. I could do sentence stems, and they can do an about them page. So I could have made an about me page, and then they use that as a sample to make an about you page. When you're done, you push the check, you tell where it wants to go. So if this is for all students, it will go to all of their journals. I click all, or I can individualize. Now, yesterday we talked about parents, families, guardians that are added in, or caregivers. Now, if they were added in and you share this page, they can view this just for their students and help them with it. Not through their app, but they could at least view it. So I'm going to just say I want it to go to all students and push my check. Do you want it to go into a folder? Does this have a specific topic? Now you notice there's not a folder, so I'm going to create a folder for this one. I'm going to create an About Me folder. I'm going to choose pink. So we have, oh, I've already chose pink. That's okay. So it's an About Me folder. I chose pink. It goes there. And now I've put it in their journal. You'll notice it shows that there's a new post. It's in the About Me folder. So when students, if I go to my sample student, they'll see it here, but they can also see it if they just go into their About Me folder. So they can organize so their main journal page doesn't get too messy. Now, what can students do? Well, I'm a sample student right now, so I can click play. Hi class, I want you to click the following link. And once you use the link, I want you to search your hometown and type in, what is the best thing about? There we go. This is a link, remember? So if they click, hi class, they can go to that link. It will take them to Google. I want you to click the following link. Added too many things. Too busy. But they can go to the next page and they can start editing this. Okay, so they can click edit item. And now they have access to page 2 to write about themselves in their journal. So once again, they could then take a photo or even a video. It's all built in. Hi, I'm Andrew. I do adult learning, and I work specifically with educational technology. I'm in Capital Region. I collect pops. My favorite pop is a signed pop from Tom Holland. That's Spider-Man. And that's what I got so far. Okay, so I made a video. It processes for them. I pushed done. It got added to the page. Students could then add different shapes. I could say that's my favorite shape. I could draw a picture. I could add text about me, anything. They click the button and it got updated in their journal. So let's go student sample. Got updated in their journal. Okay, so that's the first thing. And all I did was click add, post student work, and added a photo. Okay, let's.
And now's a good time for a couple questions that have been raised.
Perfect.
Go back to that main screen where you were previously.
Yep.
Okay, one question is, could you please differentiate between class journal and how that's different than adding an activity or announcement tab? So the green add button.
Yep. So right here, this is where it's supposed to post student work to their class journal. So this is, for example, using samples, etc. Sending an announcement is basically like a communication. It sends a direct communication to them or their families. Activities we'll get to in a little bit, so I don't want to dive in too deeply about that, but these are specific things that are created to assess skills. So the way I think about this is post-student work is a way that I can gather student information quickly through samples and help guide them, or just share links out. A lot of teachers within Seesaw really stick with the activities tab, and that's great because it does also get posted to their class journal.
Okay, other questions? What is voice caption used for? Could you perhaps elaborate on that concept a little bit?
Let's just try it. That's even better. So I'm gonna actually go to drawing. So for this, just putting that in there. If I do voice caption, here we go. I'm adding voice caption. This is one thing I want to do, and this is what I'm talking about. So I push done. There's my voice, and now I need to type that in. So I get to manually add a caption. So I add a caption that goes with my audio I just recorded. So I can listen to it. I'm adding voice caption. This is one thing I want to do, and this is what I'm talking about. So it's for you to be able to add your voice to give instructions, as well as add a caption that relays those instructions in a different manner. So I'm going to push add.
Thanks, Andrew. A couple other questions.
Okay, let me just demo that looks like this. I'm going to add that just to student. So sample student, I'm going to just add it completely just to their main area. So the sample student sees this only. No other student has this item. They have the voice caption here available, and then they have the actual caption below. Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, next question was, can you take a picture of your computer screen in the photos option?
Let's try it. See anywhere to take a picture? I don't. Now, can you upload a picture? Yes. So if you have a screen capture software, you can always add a photo. So this does not take a picture of my computer screen. But you can always upload a photo. For example, if you have one already saved on your computer, for example, a Mac has a screen capture built in. You can also do print screen if you're on a PC, and you can save those as files and upload them. Now there are
one more that's relevant for right now. Can you create a text box for students to type in, or do they need to create their own text box?
So in drawing, remember we had that edit option. I'm actually going to go, let me just do this. Okay, this is a test text box. I'm just doing sample student. I am going to add it to ELA just to show different folder usage. So sample student knows has 3 items. Amy and Christina do not. So sample student, this is a test box. Okay, right here, once again, they can edit the item. They can then click in it and they can type. So yes, they can edit that text box. You could have also done that with the shape. So you can teach them that different colors mean different things, which I know a lot of people like to do. So maybe this is where they want to type, and if they just double click, it allows them to type in it. Or they could have pushed the T. Okay. Any others, Steve, at this point?
Not yet. There are a few more pending, so we will probably get to those, but I don't want to go to irrelevant things right now.
Thank you. Okay, so once again in the ad, so we have now gone through photo, started drawing. You'll notice it gives options and shows kind of what drawing does, but let's look deeper into drawing. It's the same features we just had. I know a lot of teachers use drawing when creating activities. So when we get into the activities tab, this will become a big part of your lesson. Okay, so be aware, this is where a lot of things will happen. Once again, I clicked photo, and this is where I could upload that screenshot, which I'll take one in a minute to show what that looks like. Okay, next, you'll notice here in the corner, we have draft. If you're working on something, you can actually have this saved as draft, which means it doesn't publish to the students yet. So you can work on something, come back to it, and it will go to the students later. Over here, it changes my view. This is full screen mode. This is edit mode. Full screen, edit. When I'm in edit mode, I can push plus and it will zoom in on certain sections of the screen. Think about a whiteboard and only using a little corner of it. So you could work in just that area. And then if you don't want it, you can push delete, which deletes the whole thing. So if you have more than one page and you push delete, it will delete all the pages you've worked on if you do this can in the corner. However, you'll notice dots over here. 3 dots always mean options. Let's click on it and see what happens. This allows me to duplicate this page. So now we have 2 pages. So I can also just delete one page versus this one here, which deletes all pages. So just for our use today, I'm going to add a giant shape. Ooh, I love the music notes. Add a big treble clef. There we go. Whole bunch of treble. And we could sing, we could do a whole bunch of different things. So I'm going to delete my page 1 because I don't need it. There we go. Page is deleted. I have 1 to share. I'm going to add a question. What is this for my students? I click off of it, which gives me other options. So I can like turn it. I could change colors. There we go. I can even change colors of this. And you can customize this page. So I want to know what this is. I'm going to assign this to Amy. Not assign, but I'm posting it in her journal. And it's for music. And it's posted in Amy's journal. There it is. What is this? So Amy could go in and edit if she would like. Okay.
Andrew, there's a few more questions. Can you choose certain ways that students respond to activities? For example, if I want them to submit a picture, can I limit it so the only option they have for responding is a picture?
When we get to activities, we'll look at that. And so we're going to wait a few minutes.
Okay. And also, can you assign the same activity every day?
You could. And we'll talk about that as well. And you can assign the same activity to multiple classes too. Okay, so I'm going back to that. Right now, we're just posting work in the student journal to see what options you have. The next one is video. So video turns on my video camera. Once again, 3 options. Remember, students get these same options. So what you're seeing is also what students see. So you push record, tells you recording in 3, 2, 1. I push done. And now I have the same features I just had previously. Once again, here's a video. I could make this fun and I could tilt my video. There's actually a psychology thing about having upside down faces, just so we know. Brain science. I can share my video. I want it to go to all students. And it's about me. Every student will see this work. And there's a video. Next option is the upload. I can select for my drive, which I have associated my Google Drive. Students can do the same. So if they log in with Google and they have a drive, it will access. So if you have activities, if you have pictures, if you have images, anything, you can find it. So I'm just going to choose this one. Those are individual people's. I don't want to steal theirs. Let's do, okay, let's do this one. So I'm uploading a file from Drive. You could also have used a link. There we go. There's my file from Drive. It pasted as an image, which I'm able to edit and share. You could make those links work by using the link option. Now I'm posting to students and sharing. Same process we've just done a few times. You can view it in Google Doc, so I could view the original or just view it as an image. Up to you. The last one, the last two is a note. Notice it looks like a piece of paper, and you can type a note to students. Hello class, what I want to say is, and then share information. But it takes you in here where you can record about your note and you can edit your note. So I could actually read that out loud. Touch the button to begin recording. Hello class, what I want to say is, and then it has audio associated with your note. And I think about students and how powerful that would be, so they can hear your voice. When ready, you push the check, and that can also get shared to students. You'll notice my sample student is getting a lot. The last feature are links. Let's look at links. This takes you to a website URL. So if I wanted to take them to, for example, just Google, it tells me if the link is good, first off. That's powerful. I push the check. Notice it adds the link here. It is also linked for students to visit the page. So it gives them a sample of what the page is that they're going to, but I could add instructions here before they go. I can do everything else I could do before. But it is linked, so it could take them there. So I'm sharing it to my sample student and clicking. Here they go, sample student. They see what the page is, and they can click the link. It takes them to the link when they click on it. Okay. So that's the post work button. Now, I'm going to pause there. Any questions just about adding to the journal before we go into activities, Steve?
Tangentially, so we'll see if you'd like to address these now. Somebody asks, is there a time limit on the video option? And somebody else asks, once you have a video, can you get a link to it to use elsewhere?
So time limit, I just want to do a little caveat with that. We never recommend a video going longer than 5 minutes or less, especially with younger students, or 5 minutes or more, sorry. Yeah, don't go more than 5 minutes. As far as the video, you'll notice, let's see if I can find a link. Right here says share item. So my 3 dots are very powerful. Students have 3 dots too. Share item, and they can share it. Okay. So yes, you can get a link. There is also an embed code, and embed codes make it play live for you wherever you placed it. And what was the second question?
You got it. Another question that has come up is, can students accidentally delete something that you post for them?
Yes. Simple as that. Yes, they can.
Okay, I think we're good to move on to the next part.
Perfect. Okay, so you could either, to post an activity or assign an activity, you could go here, you could do the add. If that's your format, I don't want to change that. If the green button is something that you like, then use it. You can also do activities by going to the activities tab. So I can click from journal into activities, which I'm going to do. Both of them take you to the same place. So please be aware, journal activities takes you to the same place as assign activity and post student work, journal activity. So I'm going to click activities, and you'll notice it instantly asks me if I want to browse activity library, which I do. And the first thing I want to do is actually go to my library before I show that. So this is my library. Now the reason why you're seeing things here already, are these ones that I have added to my library from other classes. So what Seesaw does is anytime you either make an activity or you use an activity from the community, it gets added to your library. And what that does is allows you to reuse it in any class with your students at any time. You'll notice very simply, there's an assign button at the top where these are already created and I could assign them to my students. Pretty simple, which I like. But we're going to start by creating a new activity. So I'm going to click Create New Activity, and it starts by giving me prompts. You'll notice in the last section in Journal, we didn't have these options. It just added to a page. This is what makes activity different than just posting to a journal, because you get to name it and basically make it a set of instructions for students. So this activity I'm going to do for start of the year, getting to know you. And the instruction for students, number 1, use the page template to add a picture of yourself. Number 2, share your favorite shape in your favorite color. And number 3, what is your favorite food? And you'll come up with way better questions than I have. But this is just a sample of how to build an activity. You'll notice there's always the option to add voice instructions or multimedia instructions, which means it allows you to record a video explaining how to do this. So if you want to tell students what to do, you can do that. So I'm going to just add voice instructions. Hello class, I would like you to use the page template below that I create and then add a picture of yourself. Then I want you to share your favorite shape in your favorite color. Lastly, please type or add a picture of your favorite food. Looking forward to getting to know you. You'll notice that had a 2-minute time limit. Okay, so yes, I had a spelling error. I fixed it. You can also add multimedia and you could add a video. Let's see if our video has a time limit. Hi, it's me again. I'd like you to add your favorite color, your favorite shape, etc. Videos have a 5-minute time limit, so we did just figure that out. And you can always choose to delete these and redo them if you don't like them. Notice the trash or the X. This one did not explain my instructions. So I'm deleting. I like my voice instructions. I simply read this, so they have different ways to access. Down below, it says add template. So I'm going to add a template. Your template is where you can use the features. And I will tell you, a lot of teachers use the drawing feature for students. This is what they do a lot of activities on. So the drawing feature, I can now add a template. So I could say, let's do a shape. And let's just do a square. And I could say, paste a picture here. There we go. I could say, change this to your favorite food. And lastly, I could say, add a shape here and change it to your favorite color.
Andrew, while you're on this page, when you get done with this part, can you talk about add page there at the bottom right-hand corner?
Of course. So now we have 3 different things that I want them to do on this page, but maybe I want them to do more or give them additional opportunities. Now as a template, we have an add page. So think about adding another page to an activity where they can do more work, where they can do more to this activity. So if I click add page, it's another blank space and I could add more instructions add to my template, add voice or video instructions, anything you want. And you can continue to add pages, and they would have access to these to keep working. For mathematics, for example, I know teachers add pages with maybe graphs, or in science, you could give a picture for them to analyze and find differences. In reading, you could add pages of text. There are a ton of methods. I know for reading ELA, one of the activities I've seen a lot in Seesaw is adding pages from a book that you have rights to. And yes, teachers do have certain rights already. And you add a page that you have rights to, and you have students underline, for example, all the nouns or the verbs. And they simply use their highlighter or they use their pencil, and they do that. And it saves to their journal as an activity for you to go in and look at and assess their skills. So lots of different ways to use activities. It's really up to your mind. And we will demonstrate what has already been created and what you can use. So this is my template. I could do voice instructions or caption instructions again. I could also make a little video, which I'm going to do, and talk about how to do that. I could also have done a screen capture and demonstrate how to add a picture, demonstrate how to add a shape, and demonstrate how to do this. So using, for example, Screencastify, Zoom if you're in a meeting like this, others, or Cami, you could screen capture and show students what to do and post a little video that demonstrates. So lots and lots of different ways to use these pages. So I push check. This is now the template attached, which I tell them to use. And then I have more options. More options are my teacher notes and if I assign them to skills. Now remember, skills are something we go into tomorrow, but think about skills as grading. That's how I want you to think about it. So here's my activity. I'm going to push save. There we go. It got in my activity library, gave a cute little picture, has my instructions. It says it's compatible with Chromebooks, computers, iPads, Androids, tablets, and even Kindle Fire, because all of these are touchscreen able too. So drawing the shapes, taking the pictures, there'll be buttons on the screen if you're in an app. Remember, we have an app for both parents and students and teachers. It also shows me here instructions for students. Okay. You click the heart to assign it to students. Students respond using their tools, and you approve their responses. You say yes. So I'm going to assign this to students. I'm going to pick this class. Notice I can select multiple classes. I can pick specific students and which folders. I'm going to say, okay, I only want this to go to, let's do Christina this time. And I want this into the About Me folder. We'll do skills tomorrow. I push check. I assign it to one class. I'm going to actually go back and assign it again because there's a button I forgot to show. So I assigned it to one already. But you'll notice there's a schedule button here. The schedule button is only available if your district has a paid account. So please be aware, the scheduled button is only available with the paid version. All other versions do allow you to assign these at any time. But the scheduled version is only paid. So if I wanted to schedule it for Amy at a different time, I could schedule it for a different time, either immediately or a specific date and time. So maybe at 6:19 p.m. because I know that she has a schedule where she's sleeping at this point. There we go, assign. So the paid version, assigned. As a teacher, it shows me what they do. Okay, students sign in, students respond. They go to their activities tab, they tap add respond, which then allows them to edit the template, and it's just for them. So I've now assigned it to 2 students. They would need to go in and edit those. As a teacher, when they're done, I get it back and I approve them. If it's not approved, it gives them an additional opportunity to continue editing. Okay, I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions, Steve. I know I went a little fast, so there might be some questions.
Yeah, so one of them would be, Andrew, if a teacher were on the free model and they wanted to use the same poll every day, what would the process look like to make that happen?
Perfect. So if you're on the free model, you're simply going to go, I'm going to go back to my main class. There we go. See, that was assigned. They're going to go to activities. They're going to browse activity library. They could have also pushed the add and assign activity. They're going to go to their library, so my library, which is not the default. And you'll notice it's right here. Because I've used this, it is in my library. It doesn't go away until I delete it. I push assign, and I will be able to reassign it as many times as I want. So same process. So my library, and then click assign and assign it to your students. If they're on the free version, it's the same thing. I believe the free version, however, only allows up to, I can't remember the exact number of activities. I want to say 50 of them live in your library at one time. The paid version's, I believe, unlimited. So just be aware of that. But 50 activities is a lot in Seesaw because it builds up your journal. And you can hand pick which ones to remove. Like, I don't want this one anymore. I have my 3 dots. I can delete this activity. The other thing you saw in the 3 dots were add to collection. You can add to collection, and these are your skills, which we'll get to tomorrow. But assignments and or activities that are associated with certain skills. Okay, pause there for one more question, and I really need to show community before we're done today.
Okay, once a student completes an activity, does it leave their journal or does it stay there?
Stays in their journal because it's a journal of, let's do success is what I'll call it, because you associate skills, and those skills will show kind of what they did. No other students can see their journal, so it's just like having a physical journal. It's their journal. Now, that activity will go down, and so it may take them a while to find it. Their most recent activity will be their main one they see.
Great, Andrew. Go ahead to your next part, please.
Perfect. So this is my library, and we just showed how to create an activity. I once again want to show that when you created an activity, it was the same things that you did when you posted in the journal. You had picture, you had drawing, you had video, you had upload, you had note, you had link. Same tools every time. Students as well, they have the same tools every time. Consistency, consistency, consistency. Getting students used to the same tools in their programs works. Yes, this does work with Google Classroom. I get that question all the time because on those assignments, there were links. You can share a link, post that link into Google Classroom as an assignment. They could come in here and work on it. Because Seesaw logs in with Google Classroom as an option, there would be no additional login information needed. They can switch back and forth between them to use the tools. I wanted to make that clear. You can switch back and forth between Google Classroom and Seesaw without any additional login as long as you're using Google Classroom as the Seesaw login. Whew. Now, I'm going to show one of my favorite features of Seesaw. And I don't want to overwhelm, but I do encourage you to explore, explore, explore tonight. Remember, we always ask you after these sessions, please go explore. So one of my favorite features of Seesaw is in the activity library, you have the community. And when it says community, it really does mean community. These are activities that were already created by other educators across whoever's using Seesaw. Anybody that has a Seesaw account can add to the community and they get voted on. So these are activities for every grade level. And notice I can even switch between grade levels, which helps me for differentiation for my students. So right now I'm in first grade. I could look at 7th grade activities. I could look at 4th grade activities. I could just look at all activities. So these are activities that have been created by teachers and educators and Seesaw staff that are available to use for you in your Seesaw class. The free version and the paid version have access to this. So if you're looking for a certain activity, I would start here because you can edit these activities. You have the ability to edit what other people made. which means you could delete the recording of their voice and add your own voice. But you can start with their stuff as a base. So we'll notice they give some tips at the top: remote learning routines by Seesaw, standards aligned at home activities, wellness and health, which social emotional learning, getting to know your students, we recommended that as well. We have back to school activities. So these are back to school things. I can search specifically for first grade. So here's some back to school first grade activities: back to school scavenger hunt, back to school greeting, back to school boot camp. My recommendation, look for the one that has the most hearts. The hearts means that they're being used in a Seesaw class. Remember, the heart means it's been assigned. So this one has 8,076 users have used this activity. So let's look at it. I click on it. Beth Webster created it. Back to school sentence starters. It gives my instructions. Tap the add response button below. Use the T tool to add words, phrases, emojis. As starters, use the audio tool to explain your writing. Tap the green check to add to your journal. It's associated to English language arts, and once again, is compatible with all the things. So I'm going to heart this, which adds it to my activity library. I'm going to assign it. If I wanted a bigger preview, I could have clicked on the template and viewed it. Back to school, this is how I'm feeling. I'm excited about, I'm nervous about, I can't wait to, I wonder about. I assign it to my classes. I'm just do my sample student. It's been assigned, gives them the step. I can now view the activity. I can go into the activity. I can do whatever I want, but use the community. I encourage you tonight to explore activities, explore posting to journals, and really looking at what resources the community already has. Okay, Steve, before I go back into our slide deck and get the final poll out, any last questions we need to address today? Tomorrow we're going to dive into more resources, grades, and communication.
No, I think we're good for today. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, so back into our slide deck. Today, we covered how to add materials and resources by posting in a class journal. We have not talked about discussions, but we will tomorrow. We got into activities. We will look at these resources in more depth tomorrow, but we do have them available in your slide deck, which was shared. If that can be shared again in the chat, that would be great. So Seesaw does have certain apps that they already integrate. If your district would turn them on, you can use them, and they talk about how to use them in this link. As well as Seesaw has a help center, so they have tutorial videos as well for their resources. For today, we want to make sure you are able to synthesize and apply your learning, which means, can you please go to the poll that was now just shared in the chat and do a day 2 reflection. So I'm going to give some time. I'm going to leave this screen up because if you have a smartphone, don't forget you can do the QR code, and you can just go to picture, hover over the QR code, and take a picture. Well, not take a picture, but if you hover over it, it will ask you to open a link. Only if your smartphones have that turned on. But please, please, please click the link in the chat. Do the reflection so we get some data, because we do look at those nightly and we modify our trainings based on your feedback. Okay.
As you're wrapping up, Andrew,
Yes.
I did just see a few things about notifications, and I poked around and there wasn't a lot of granular notifications I could turn on or off. Is that correct?
Yes, and we will actually get into notifications when we talk about communication tomorrow. There are settings to turn things on or off, as well as a big thing with this is they do recommend the app. So once again, Seesaw is one that works on all devices and especially does work with touchscreen. So they do recommend using their app so the touchscreen features work, for example, on an iPad or a Chromebook that has touchscreen features. So the notifications are big, but better in an app. Okay, any last questions before I change the slide? Okay, don't forget to reply in the chat. There's the link. And finally, once again today, we want you to, when you go back, look at your organization structure. How are you going to organize? What kind of folders might you use? Think about how their journals are going to be used. Feel free to add an activity. Haven't got to discussions yet, but we'll talk about that, and add resources or materials you might want to try. So play with the community, play with the activities button, play with posting work. And with that, I thank you all for being here, and it was great having you today, and I look forward to doing skills, communication, and more resources tomorrow. Bye, everybody.